you get that set up. I mean, well, I'm gonna let people start getting in. So it's gonna have a delay in it.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm waiting till around 6 o'clock so more people get in, but we're gonna do like a 30 to 45 minute, maybe an hour long Q&A. And I'm just gonna talk about this past year and the first 3 years of this business that we're doing. So we're just gonna wait till some folks get in here and we'll start talking and I'm gonna answer questions. So for the people that are like going to pick up and follow on YouTube, they're getting to watch some John Wayne Hondo movie. And then the TikTok feed, the screen's so small you can't really see the Western. So if you see me looking over my shoulder, I'm just checking out what John Wayne's doing.
And look at if there's any questions or no questions.
We still got like 4 minutes and I'm gonna kick it off. And of course this live is gonna be saved too, so my wife's gonna upload it to our social pages. For the people that come in late, they can go back through and watch it. Well, while we're waiting on everybody, how's everybody's years gone? Y'all had a good business year, a slow year. What y'all think about the election? You think it's gonna help your career out this coming 4 years? I can go ahead and tell you, the day after the election results, my customers started spending money like crazy. A lot of big jobs got bidded and accepted. So I'm thinking that at least the next 2 years is going to be really good for anybody in a blue collar trade anyways. Am I too close?
No.
So I got my wife, she's like behind the scenes, like I got like 2 or 3 cameras or phones set up for different platforms, and she's gonna help me try to keep note of the questions that gets asked over the next 30 minutes or so, and then we'll come back around and start answering them.
Did I answer some of those questions earlier?
No, I'm gonna wait till 6. We got 1 minute, and I'm gonna kick this off, and we'll start talking about the business and how everything's going. Is it picking up the voice good on it?
Yeah.
Can you tell? All right, we got close to a minute left, and we're gonna kick the live off.
Shut the, yeah, I'm shut this part.
My wife's sneaking behind us. And during this live, like I said, if y'all have any questions, just ask them, and my wife's gonna try to keep notes, and she's gonna bring the questions up once I get done talking about our business and how everything's went the last 3 years. This whole live, I'm gonna start from the very beginning of when we left Caterpillar and to where we are now. So the people that's been following us since we started this journey, they'll probably hear some of the same stuff until we get to the fresher content, like up to date. So it is 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. My name's Josh Chamberlain. I'm 36 years old. December the 10th was my full 3 years in business as being a self-employed contractor. I had a 15-long career at a local Caterpillar dealer here in Tennessee, and I absolutely loved my job there where I was at. I worked around a lot of really good men. I just got burnt out, and prior to me leaving Caterpillar, I left on good terms. Like the last 6 or 7 years of me working there, I was just burned out. I've been in service trucks, I worked at the shop, you know, got put in the welding shop, and eventually was the only person in the welding shop at my store, so I was kind of like my own boss. I had a really good service manager. He took care of me, made really good money. I was bouncing around 90 to 100K a year there, but I was working 6 days a week. And the last 5 or 6 years of being employed there, like I said, I just got burned out, and I kept telling my wife I had this want to go out and start my own business. I don't know if it's because my grandfather, he's been self-employed, he's got his own welding business, and he's been contracted to his same customer for like 35 years. I don't know if that's what drove me to do it, but my wife told me one day, she said, you're going to regret not trying it now when you're like 50 years old and you're still punching a time clock. So after that set in, that last year at Caterpillar, I was ready to go, and we bought me a 1-ton pickup truck, and I started setting it up. I bought a 302 gas air pack welder, put a triangle toolbox on it, and then once I got ready, I left Caterpillar the first or second week of December of that year, and I already had work lined up to go. And that following Monday, I started calling customers, hey, I'm out on my own, I'm ready to come to work. And work that they had scheduled with me like 2 months prior, they told me it wasn't there. So I immediately thought that, man, I made the wrong mistake. The first 2 to 3 months was hit or miss on my business. I did more time and bought more diesel fuel going out meeting customers and trying to sell myself to them to make money for my family. But after the first 3 months was out of the way, business took off. We purchased my 5500 with a CM flatbed on it, which most of y'all have seen videos of. And we ran that whole setup out for a year. That following my second year in, that January, we bought my line boring equipment, and my business like took off a lot. Then we finished my second year out. We paid my boring equipment off. I kind of do like a Dave Ramsey plan. So I'm always doubling and tripling on my bills. My boring equipment there, at one time I was paying $3 grand a month on it and $2 grand a month on my service truck. As soon as my boring equipment got paid off, I think we paid it off in like 10 months. I had around $30,000 invested in it. I took that $3,000 and put it towards my service truck. So therefore, a few months we was paying $5 grand a month towards my service truck. Got it paid off early. I think we paid it off in roughly a year and 11 months. My boring equipment, 30 grand, I paid it off in like 10 months. The middle of last year, I started searching because I knew we was wanting to invest in a service body with a crane. I went to 2 upfitters. The upfitter that finally did take us on and help us out build our cranes, Nickel Fleet, we placed our order in the last year, and we got the bed about 2 months ago. We've been posting videos and content of that bed. It has helped us out tremendously. One thing I want to tell, we get a lot of young guys asking us about business and input. The thing that's helped me out to run my business is although you see all this money coming in, you want to buy these toys like bass boats and side by sides. I want those two items. I want them so bad I can't see straight. But my wife, she keeps me planted to the ground, and she's like, no, we need to invest the money. So I would say about 80% of my money that comes in after taxes and stuff, I reinvest back into the business and pay our bills, and that leaves me with a couple $100 a week to actually spend. But you got to keep in mind, I'm paying my truck payment with it, or my truck insurance and whatever loans I got out for the business. Another key note is I take 30% out of every invoice that I got, and I put that back just for taxes, and then I pay the tax man every quarter. We send him anywhere between like $5 to $8 grand a month or a quarter, and then usually at the end of the year, once all my expenses for my business comes up, we don't end up having to pay much at all in taxes, and most of the time they roll the excess money that we send them over to the following year to help out on those taxes. Some of the exciting news that we've got is, I'm sure most of y'all know, we found out my wife is pregnant a few months ago. She's due this coming year, March the 20th or so. I finally, we're having a boy. I got two daughters, a 16-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter. And this will be our first son, and I am super excited about this. I've already got all these ideas of how I want to raise him. I was raised up by my grandparents, and they instilled all these good character traits into me. Of course, I was wild in my teen years, my early 20s, but then I finally picked it up and I straightened my life out. And I just want to really show my son how to be a responsible person, a hard worker, and have good character traits. My little one-ton truck, we're doing some big changes on it, and in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to post some videos on it, and I think y'all are going to really like it. We plan on running that truck a lot this coming year. I'm going to bounce between both my big truck and my one-ton truck just to keep all the welding machines running and working, and just keep from having problems from something sitting around. Other than that, we want to try to get, we've talked about hiring somebody this coming year, but really I don't know the direction I want to go. Like last year, being a small business owner is hard because of the workflow. You try to please everybody. In the middle of the summer of last year, I'm almost certain I had like a mental crisis breakdown, just because I had customers calling. I was in the middle of a big job, like a 2-week job, and customers calling, hey, where you at? You said you're gonna be here. And I'm bad about answering the phone while I'm working and saying, yeah, I'll get to you in like 3 days. But I don't think about it when I tell them that, and then once the following week comes around, they start calling, and then I get all tore up. I left a job at like 11:30 one night and just pulled aside the road, and like I said, that's when almost a mental breakdown happened. I'm pretty sure, and I ain't afraid to say it, that I cried. I was just so stressed out. I was ready to quit my business and go back to work for a dealer somewhere just so I can get some time off and, you know, and not have the pressure of constant jobs just coming in and in. And a lot of people say, why don't you just hire somebody, you know, to help the workflow? I'm not really set up yet to hire a second person, which we want to. I really would like to build our shop and then hire somebody and work them in my shop, you know, for a couple months before I turn them out on the road, just to make sure they're going to put out quality work for my customers. But then again, I want to buy a second service truck and bypass the shop and put somebody in a service truck. And then if we did that, I would look for probably a full-time diesel mechanic and somebody that can halfway weld. That way they can take care of the wrenching work and I'll do the welding work, and we'll just piggyback off each other. My crane bed, now that we got my service truck paid off and my line boring equipment paid off, I plan on taking that $5 grand a month and putting it straight towards my crane bed, and hopefully we'll pay it off in a little under 2 years is my goals. So that's gonna be our biggest goal for next year. As far as what my goals are for this coming year, I want to double up on everything. I want to buy a second line boring machine, a second hydraulic pump. I'm looking at Interpack pumps. They're kind of pricey, but they're worth their money. Just any kind of basic tooling that I use a lot, that if I had to go down, it's going to pick me in a bind, we're going to double up. So like I said, 2 line bore machines, 2 hydraulic pumps. We already got 3 suitcase welders now. My big service truck with the new bed set up, I got 2 welding machines on it. I got the Miller 400 Pipe Pro and then the Miller Interpack A60, or the Miller Impact A60. And what's really cool about that setup is Thanksgiving week on this job I was working in Athens, Tennessee, I took my daughter with me. We had 2 people welding at the same time. She was welding off the Miller Impact, burning 3/16 rods, 9 to 10 hours straight all day long, and then I was running off the Miller 400. So you can fit 2 people in one service truck, and that keeps liability down if somebody driving a second truck and getting in a wreck. It's a pretty good setup. I'm going to keep my 302 air pack on my 1-ton truck, and we're just going to see how all of that plans out. But we're pretty set on as far as welding machines for backup.
We got some questions.
We're going to answer some questions, and I'll come back to tell my business story. So my wife's going to read out a question or 2, and then we're going to go.
So how do you like the 400 Pipe Pro?
The Miller 400 Pipe Pro, I told my wife the other day, I was like, I hate to say this because people don't understand what I'm saying, but if you're a welder, I told her, I was like, that 400 Pipe Pro almost welds for you. And what I mean by that is, like, when you're stick welding and you strike an arc, it's so consistent. It burns the rods so smooth. It's just like literally like dimes or butter just melting. I'm not saying that I couldn't weld like that with the 302 air pack when I was stick welding. I did have to, work the puddle and stuff on my 302, but of course I'm running on worn out leads on that truck. It needs a new set of leads and stuff. But my Miller 400, man, I love that machine, and I'm a firm believer if you can bank or swing to buy a 400 Pipe Pro, you will not be dissatisfied with that investment.
So how do you recommend someone get in business?
The question, she says, how do I recommend people get in business? A lot of the young guys that message me, they see that our business, I want to use the word successful, but I'm going to answer that, what I think success means at the end of this live. But a lot of these younger guys, they see us and they know we've been in business for right at 3 years now, and they see that our business is being successful and it's took off. I think a lot of that is I had 15 years in the field in this line of work prior to starting my business. I made a ton of contacts with customers. A lot of customers knew me firsthand because I worked on their stuff, and once I left Caterpillar, I didn't go customer hunting and trying to steal them from my last employer. I waited till they called me, and eventually, like I said, after that 3rd or 4th month, they found out I left and they started calling me. So I already had a reputation of being able to do what y'all see me do now. My wife took it the next step further. She started our social media pages. I can't explain it enough how much TikTok has helped my business. A lot of my customers that I work for that ain't locally, they're 2 to 4 hours away, and they find us on TikTok or Instagram. They watch all of our content, and we build a relationship through the videos. And when they call me, it's like they're my neighbor. Like, we've known each other for years. I look out for those customers. It's like, hey, give me your address. I try to find a welder closer to them. I was like, it would be a cheaper route to call this guy, but they just insist for us to come up, and that's what we do. We just, like I said, we've been 4 or 4.5 hours away from my house to a job, and travel back and forth during a week just because they like our morals and my character and how we stand on business.
Does the 400 Pipe Pro have a cat motor?
Yes, the one that we got, it does have a cat engine. I think it's a 1.4 or 1.6 cat engine with a turbo. So far, I've hit 250 hours on it, and I'm going to service the engine on my Impact and my Miller Pipe Pro next week. Right now, we ain't had no issues. A couple of weeks or 2 weeks or so in Athens, it was below 20 degrees. The welder would fire right up. I just hit the glow plug, hold it for about 15 seconds, and hit the start switch, and it would start up.
So Philip just got a line boring machine at work and has his first job next week. Any advice for the new guy?
If you haven't, when I started line boring, the guy that I took over for the welding shop, he had a brain tumor. He's still doing good, but he obviously had to leave work because of that reason. I got thrown to the wolves when it came to line boring. It took me a year or two to really get the hang of it because I really didn't have no guidance. They just stuck me on it. I did a lot of mess ups as far as overcutting or not welding the bores up correctly. At Caterpillar at the time, we didn't have a bore welder, so I was hand welding. And when I got thrown in the weld shop, that was the first time I really welded at Caterpillar, like the first 4 years I was there. I never once thought, hey, I want to chase the career of welding. So I just played the part, a lot of trial and error. I overcut plenty of bores and undercut plenty of bushing bores. One thing I can tell you is to take your time, and when you're messing with half a thousandths cuts, speed is not what you want to do. Definitely if you're just getting in a line boring, you really want to take your time and double measure and triple measure your bores, you know, because if you overcut a bore, you got to weld it all back up and start back over.
Which boring machine do you recommend?
The boring equipment that I learned on was York. They're out of Canada. That's the machine that I bought once I went out on my own just because I was familiar with it, and I'm real comfortable running a York machine. It makes about 12 years now that I've used York products, and they have always been a good product to me. I've really never had one lay down on me. So I know they're capable of the field that I'm doing. Now, Climax makes a really good machine, which I've never used, but a lot of guys hold Climax up high, and they are the next brand up above York. Price-wise. Cool thing about the Climax bar is it feeds through the feeder, so you really don't need like a foot or 2 foot at the end of your bar to mount your feeder like I do with my York. So some situations it's a real tight spot with the York setup. But like I said, out of 12 or 14 years I've been line boring, there hasn't really been a boring job that I couldn't adapt to use that system.
So this isn't really a question, but I bet you have advice for him. He just bought a truck and ordered his kit. He took a leap of faith and looks up to you. He got the 50 millimeter kit, but they offered the 60 millimeter, but he figured he'd start with the 50 millimeter.
You can't ever have enough. That's the worst thing about working for yourself. When I first started the business, the reason why I waited a year to buy my boring equipment was because I was afraid of failing. And I was paying cash. I would build up cash and I'd buy some equipment. Build up cash and buy some equipment. Never under tool yourself. You always want to try to do the most. I think the most common sizes, like when I'm line boring, is 6 to like 12 inches. Most of your standard bore kits you can get with the tooling that you need as far as your cones and your adapters and stuff and your bearings to go up that big. You just don't want to get a customer call and say, hey, I got this bore, and you show up and you ain't got the tooling to cut it. So I know, like I said, my kit goes to like 12 to 16 inches or something like that. And we paid 30 grand for my system. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but if you ever think you're going to need a bigger system, then definitely buy the tooling before that job comes through.
Do you think the S-Power or the S-Welder line boring kit is decent?
I don't know. I'm a firm believer of York. I know a lot of guys that run different brands outside of Climax and York, and they all have somewhat good success. I can tell you this about York, is we could call them today if my feeder goes down, and my representative, his name's Paul Decker. A lot of people that's in the machining world knows Paul probably as much as I do. He will bend over backwards and he'll get me a new machine down here within a day or two or whatever it takes to keep the job running. So as far as customer service goes, I'm speaking for York. They're top notch, and I would not hesitate. Like I said, we're going to buy a second feeder, and the only reason we're doing that is because I know York's reliable. Maybe on down the road, once we build a shop, I'll invest in like a Climax and try them out, but for now, I'm sticking with York. Just don't fall for the cheap stuff. I know one guy or two guys that's bought like eBay stuff for like $4 grand, and they have nothing but issues out of it. You don't want to be starting a business and go do a job and hold the job up because you took a cheap route out on buying equipment.
Do you do a lot of art gouging?
Yes, a ton of art gouging. My 302 air pack, we've had it in the shop 3 times this year, and it was not been related to art gouging. It's been related, it's got external coil packs. My wife bought me a weather cover to keep on the welding machine, and I was lazy and I just didn't run the cover much, and the coil packs would get corrosion, and it would make it where the welder wouldn't run right, this and that. But that being said, with it being an air pack, I think I got 12 or 1,400 hours on the compressor side of it, and every one of those hours has been art gouging hours. I'm so used to art gouging that most of the time I do it 3 or 4 times a week. I'm just adapted to it. I use it to cut plates, cut cracks, cut bolts. To me, it's an easier and faster way of cutting stuff versus me dragging a hand torch out.
I'm in trucking. When did you know it was time to work for yourself?
I don't know. I'm a man of faith, and I have the most up respect for somebody that stands on what they believe in. We got friends that are atheists, and they're not afraid to say it, and you know where they stand. And then I got some friends that are professing Christians, and you can't really tell unless you absolutely know. You know what I mean? So like, I rely on faith a lot. I was an alcoholic before, and then I obviously put my life towards Christ, and now I use Him to help make me make my decisions. And when I feel settled, in my heart or whatever, that's when we made a decision. And plus, when my wife told me, she knew that I was miserable, not with what I was doing at Caterpillar, that I was just burnt out. When she told me I'm going to regret not doing it if I don't do it now, when I'm 50 years old, still punching the time clock. So that's kind of what helped me make the decision. One reason that I wanted to go out on my own was when my grandparents raised me. My grandfather was only working person in the family. My grandmother helped raise me and the grandbabies and stuff, and that's the way I wanted to give my wife and my daughters. I wanted to give my wife the freedom to spend time with our kids and to raise our kids versus her working a full-time job and missing all the school activities and stuff. So that was one of my big drives as far as wanting to work for myself.
Do you know if you can wire a Miller 225 for remote?
That I do not know. I got a local welding repair shop that my gas supplier uses. It's called Arc One. If I run into any kind of technical questions about a welding machine, I contact them and they can usually point me in the direction. If you want to, you can message us that, and then I will try to call my guy Arc One and check it out for you.
What art gouger do you use?
I use a K4000 Air Arc. I think that's what it is. It's pretty pricey, but like I said, if you ever get used to using an art gouger, you'll rely on it for everything. Plus, if you got a lot of customers hanging out and slowing you up, you can drag the art gouger out, and it's so loud they'll scatter once you start gouging.
I think that's about it for now. Oh, anything you don't like about the new bed on your truck?
No. If I was going to be a full-time mechanic, to me, a 14-foot service bed is a must. So we got an 11-foot service bed, and plus for me having Nichols fleet, modify the bed and take off, the boxes over the driver's side rear door wheels. I lost more space to put tooling. But I'm wanting to stay focused towards welding and line boring and machining work, so it's a good setup for me. If you're going to be a full-time diesel mechanic and you're looking at a bed, like I said, a 14-foot, you'll need it because you use every bit of the storage space.
So we've answered this question, but Ryan said, what kind of line bore machine do you use?
York Portable Line Boring Machine. They're out of Canada. I would really look at some videos on YouTube, and we got a ton of content running it. To me, they're top-notch machines, and I would put them beside a Climax boring setup, which is the top of the line, but I've never really put hands-on Climax. So as of right now, to me, you won't hesitate or regret buying a York system.
How are you liking the square toes?
I would never. These are my first square toes. These are
Hold them up here. Let's see them.
These are twisted X's. I never liked square toes until we bought these pair. They're the cowboy style. These to date has been the best boots that I've ever bought as far as working. And I'm in like chert rock and rock quarries, you know, landfills, and these boots has held up really good. The square toe part of it, I do a lot of climbing on machines and like crushers and stuff and wood grinders. I don't know if it helps, but it seems like the square toe I get more leverage when I'm climbing up stuff.
Were you welding before you built the truck?
Yes, I took over the welding shop at the Caterpillar store I was at. They put me in the welding shop, and I was probably in it about 8 or 9 years prior to me setting up my first truck.
Have you had any problems with the crane on your truck?
No, not yet. We ain't. I haven't had one problem, and I don't want y'all to jinx me on my bed, but we haven't had one issue with the bed setup yet. Like I said, I know we got over 250 hours on my Miller Pipe Pro now, and I've only had this truck for maybe, 2 months or so. And then my Miller Impact, I got to do an oil change on it, and it's showing like 150 hours on it. So we've run the crane, the air compressor, and both welding machines, and all the outrigger stuff quite a bit. I use my crane almost every day when I'm working.
Philip agreed. He just got a 14-foot maintainer bed last year, and he'll never go back to 11-foot bed.
No, I think if we invest in a second service truck for me to buy a mechanic, I'm not going to do him wrong and get him 11-foot bed. I mean, I'm going to spend the money to get a 14-bed setup or 14-foot setup. That's, to me, to be a mobile mechanic, you need all that extra space, and even a 14-foot ain't big enough.
Johnson Trades says that keep up the hard work. Not many know the effort it takes to make things happen like you have.
Yeah, so Johnson Trades, I don't know, is that John Johnson? I don't know what his TikTok name is. There's a boy, he's in Alabama, like middle Alabama, named John Johnson. He does the same stuff I do. I look up to this guy. He is a heck of a machinist and a welder. If y'all get time, I know he's famous on Facebook, John Johnson. Check him out. Y'all won't regret it. If y'all like my stuff, y'all love his stuff.
You got a gray welder picture?
I think so. He's a really good guy.
Oh, he said yeah.
Yeah. Check out John Johnson. Just click on his name. He's a super good guy. We talk quite a bit. Like I said, I don't know how old he is, but I look up to him. One thing, so I'm going to get back and let some more questions build up. The thing with social media that's helped me out is I've made a lot of good contacts with business owners all across the country. And a lot of my followers know a guy named Trey Bohannon. He is top notch, and we stay in contact. And having people like him, I can just call or text like, hey, I got this situation going on. How would you handle it? Business pointers, spending pointers, what to invest in, when to dump money off, just certain things. So social media, if you're a small business owner, is a must in my opinion. Plus it's free advertising.
Someone on here did say their dad has the same truck and he's had nothing but problems with the hydraulic for the crane.
Yeah, is he running a PTO drive or does he have a Miller Impact? See, I was going to do a PTO setup for my truck, but the International Chevrolet frame or cabin chassis or Victorious were having issues with the PTO drive system. So that's why. Yeah, see, we went with the Impact. We spent about 30 grand to run an Impact unit, but that way my whole bed is self-contained. There's nothing really from the bed to the truck besides power wires. So I don't have to let my truck idle to run my crane. I just fire my Impact up. It's got a hydraulic pump on it to help run my crane and outriggers and air compressor. Is that good?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the word success. A lot of young people, and I'm sure older people, they put like a value on success and what success means. You can't put a dollar sign when you're using success because you gotta make it go for what you think success is. Like for me, I say that I feel like I'm successful to this point. But when I say that, it's not putting a money valuation on what we've acquired or how much I've made. It's more to the fact that when I set out to do this, I wanted to be independent. I wanted my wife to be able to quit her job to spend more time with the family or the girls and help raise our daughters and give her the freedom and give my kids the freedom that I was raised up when my grandparents raised me. So that's when I say success, that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's not the dollar signs that we've made. And we've been very blessed to have 3 really good years now, and each year we are gaining more and more on our net or gross income. But like I said, you can't look at the dollar signs because that will really get you turned around backwards. But I'm trying to think, so our big goals for this coming year, I touched on at the beginning of the video, is I'm fixing my 1-ton truck back up. I'm going to really set it up where I'm not having to pull tools off my big truck and putting on my 1-ton truck. I want to get it where I can just jump in it and take off. We're going to double up on our tooling, like our line boring equipment, our hydraulic pumps and stuff like that, and I want to keep chunking away at my bed loan payment. I did get to put $50,000 down on the bed payment, but we still owe quite a bit on the loan to get it paid off. So that's our future goals. My daughter, she's going to be working with me a lot this summer, or this coming summer, so that's going to be cool, being able to run 2 welding machines on the same job. Also, we plan on like really gearing up and building up our YouTube page, which is doing pretty good now. We're close to 2,000 followers. If y'all haven't followed us on YouTube, check it out. It's just Chamberlain's Portable Welding. What we plan on doing this coming year is putting all of our long content videos on YouTube and using Instagram and social media or TikTok to put like little short clips of the jobs or like fast replays of the job instead of a long video. So I really hope that takes off. I know another cool thing that I just almost forgot. We got to go to a college down in Georgia around Catoosa County. It's a technical college next week, and we get to speak to their class. The welding instructor, Alex, is a really cool guy, and he's like, hey, I want you to come down here and talk to these young students before they hit the road, you know, give them business pointers. For the young guys that are watching this, before I end it, my word of advice, if you're 18 to 20, there are some young prodigies that are that young that go out and hit the road and are really successful. But if you can learn on somebody else's dime, join an apprenticeship program or like a dealership and really get hands-on, you know, work there while you're getting paid to build up your experience and learn from the old guys, I really recommend you doing that before you jump in ship and just start your own business, because it's hard out there. I know last year I spent 2/3 of what we made just on expenses, just buying equipment, investing back into the business and welding supplies. It's nothing to have an $8,000 to $10,000 a month welding supply bill for us. Definitely on a good month. That's when we know we're making really good money. When I'm bouncing around $8,000 or $10,000 a month just in welding supplies, I know we're putting the work out. But other than that, I believe I'm gonna wait till my wife gets back in here. There's a couple of questions I can't do them. We're gonna answer these last few questions and then I'll probably cut it.
How long did it take you to learn how to line bore, or do you have a machining background?
No machine. I never had a welding background. Even when I was at CAT, they just threw me out in the weld shop and I picked it up by trial and error, and I did a lot of grinding and a lot of refixing stuff. The machining, I still learn every day. When I'm line boring, I'm still learning new tricks to be faster. I find a new tooling. There's a guy named Craig Davenport that I met through social media. He's a terrific machinist. This guy can do everything. I use him a lot. I ask him questions. He sends me out on the right path. So that's that.
No, what Nate Dogg said.
Yeah, there you go. Who was that?
Alan.
Oh, Alan Cooley.
Are you charging port to port on your out-of-town jobs?
So, I'm not going to give my rates away because that's, you know, help whatever competitors, you know, and I got a family to feed. But when I left, I knew I wanted to be lower than the dealership rates, but equivalent. So I charge, I'm not going to tell you how much less than the dealer, but I do charge like the dealer. So I don't charge a service truck fee, but I do charge port to port, and I got an hourly charge. I do charge extra on Saturdays and Sundays and holiday pay or holidays. I charge a different amount. But yes, we do charge port to port. And in 3 years of being in business, I've not had an issue. But the customers that I work for are the same customers who are using the local dealerships. So, and the port to port, it helps covers my insurance, my wear and tear on the truck, and the maintenance on the truck, and so forth. The one thing that I do regret, and I just ain't got the heart to do it, is I don't quote jobs. The only thing that I quote is an initial, like if I'm line boring, I do an initial setup charge for line boring, and then if my hours add up past that initial charge, then obviously I start charging by the hour. I lose a lot of money by not quoting. We tried to do it my first few months out, and I would always come way under, like 20 or 30 hours under what we quoted, and I just didn't have the heart to charge a customer on the amount that they agreed on. And when you come like 20 or 30 hours under, you can make a lot of extra money. So I really hurt myself not quoting, and maybe one day I'll get over that, but until then I just want to charge by my hour. I feel like it's more better for the customer, it's honest, and they know I'm not just trying to get there and get the job done and get to the next one to make extra money.
Is Caterpillar a good company to work for, looking at going there through Diesel Tech program?
Which dealer are you going to? So Stowers Machinery, I have nothing bad to say about them, and the reason I left was nothing to do with the store I worked at. Like I said, I had a really good boss there. I thought it was going to be a career-long job. I got burned out. I actually wanted to go into like equipment sales, and there wasn't a position opened. So I just decided, hey, you know, I'm going to take the rodeo on and start my own business.
Boyd Cat's closest to him.
Boyd Cat, yeah, I've heard good things about them, but yeah, I mean, a dealership, to me, you build a family, and there's always a lot of old heads or older mechanics there that you can learn a ton of stuff from. Plus, you got all the resources. You got everything in your hands at a dealership versus working for yourself.
And that's really it.
Well, other than that, we're going to cut it. I appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully, we didn't bore you. Just pay attention for this coming year. It's going to be exciting for us, and we're just hopeful, or we're just happy.
We got one more from Fred. Do you think a 40 by 30 shop is good to start out with before going mobile?
Man, a shop's like a service truck. I mean, you can get a guy like me or a seasoned mechanic, a school bus converted into a service truck, and we will fill that thing up. So I don't know how to answer that. If that's all you can afford at the time, that's definitely a plus, because we really don't have a shop, and I'm setting up like tarps on my gravel pad to stay out of the rain. I would love like a 40 by 60 or 40 by 40 for now, but eventually the shop plans that we got drawn up it's going to be an 80 by 80 with 20-foot walls, red iron building, like an 8 to 10 inch concrete pad. It's going to be framed in. It's going to be a pretty cool shop, but we want it that big so I can have a metal bender, a plasma table, and a CNC machine, and have a lot of foot space to be able to do a lot of different jobs at once.
I think too, being able to be portable is a good asset in the beginning.
Yeah, so most of my work is obviously portable too. We do have some really good connections with some dealers that we work for that I will go and pick up bulldozer blades or buckets and bring to the house and do, just to save on the back and forth travel time. But right now, I'm just so much in the field that the shop investment for me is not really what I need to spend the money on.
What's the best way to get your work in business? Kind of answered that already, but do you want to recap or
To
get your work? What's the best way to get work?
So I've got a lot of really good customers, and my customers, the owners, I'm really good friends with. I can count 10 or 15 of them. Like I tell them I feel like I'm their employee sometimes, but the business owners all know other business owners in the same trade. And I can't tell you how many times a customer of mine has a friend that owns a dirt company, and he's like, hey, you know, I need this fixed or this welded up. And my customer's like, yeah, I'll send my guy over to you. Well, I go to this new customer, and they're like, do you work for Big Woody's? And Big Woody's is one of my best customers. But they're like, do you work for Big Woody's? And I'm like, no, I don't. I just, we just got a really good relationship, and I do a lot of work with them. So my customers help me out a lot on getting a lot of work. And obviously the customers that we work for the most is we charge them differently, but it's in the aspect that they help us build our business. And Lord be willing, we haven't had to do this, but if I ever got slow, I could call a handful of customers up and stay busy. But it's because they take care of me and I take care of them, and that's that. Social media, if you need work, post pictures, and people share your stuff, and eventually everybody be like, yeah, there's a guy that welds or whatever you're doing, and they'll remember your name and then send it out.
Chevy Man said, put I-beams in the pad for sure. It will save the floor.
Yeah, we're going to have it engineered and designed. It's going to be, I figure we'll probably have 200 or 220,000 in a shop, but we're going to set it where I can have an overhead crane system, with the span of the shop. And then we'll put some couple little jib cranes on the I-beams too. But it's going to be a really good investment, but I don't think that's going to come for another couple of years. And we are going to wait till my crane bed's paid off to see if I'm going to buy a new cab and chassis Peterbilt truck. If we don't do that, then we'll build a shop. But that's that. I appreciate y'all. And remember, the biggest news for me this coming year is my boy. He'll be here in March. I'm going to be so excited, and I'm going to be showing him off like crazy. Other than that, we appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support and the shares this year. And we look forward for a good year next year. Hope y'all have a blessed Christmas and a new year. Thank y'all.